Do you want to know?
హలో ఎవ్రీవన్. ఈ వీడియో పిల్లలతో పాటు అంటే విద్యార్థులతో పాటు ప్రతి ఒక్క టీచర్కి ఉపయోగపడుతుంది అనే ఉద్దేశంతో ఈ వీడియోని చేయడం జరిగింది. ఏ విధంగా అంటే నేను స్కూల్లో ఫేస్ చేస్తూ ఉంటాను. పిల్లల నుంచి ప్రాబ్లం ఎలా వస్తుంది అంటే ముఖ్యంగా సి మరియు డి గ్రేడ్ పిల్లలు ఉంటారు. వీళ్ళు ఇంగ్లీష్ మీడియంలో ఉన్నప్పటికీ వీళ్ళకి ఇంగ్లీష్ లెసన్ని పూర్తిగా చదవడం రాదు. చాలా పదాలని సరిగ్గా పలకలేకపోతూ ఉంటారు. సో మనకేమో క్లాస్లో అంత టైం అనేది ఉండదు. వాళ్ళకి నేర్పించడము రాని వాళ్ళకి అంత టైం ఉండదు. కాబట్టి నేను ఏం చేశాను అంటే ఈ వీడియోలో లెసన్ని చదవడం మాత్రమే చేశాను. సో దీనివల్ల ఏమవుతుంది అంటే మనం ఇంటి దగ్గర ఒకసారి మీరు ఇది విని చదువుకొని రండి, రేపు నేను అడుగుతాను అని చెప్పడం ద్వారా పిల్లలు ఇంటి దగ్గర విని తెల్లవారి స్కూల్లో చెప్తారు అనే ఉద్దేశంతో దీన్ని చేయడం జరిగింది. సో ఇది మనకి స్కూల్స్ స్టార్ట్ అయ్యాక కూడా ఉపయోగపడుతుంది అని నేను అనుకుంటున్నాను. నా వరకు అయితే ఇది చాలా ఉపయోగకరంగా ఉంటుంది. నా స్కూల్లో పిల్లల కోసము వాళ్ళకి చదవడం నేర్పించడం కోసం అయితే మాత్రం నాకు చాలా ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. నాతో పాటు ఇంకా ఎవరైనా టీచర్స్ ఇలాంటి ప్రాబ్లమ్ని ఫేస్ చేసే వాళ్ళు ఉంటే వాళ్ళు కూడా తప్పకుండా వాళ్ళ స్కూల్ పిల్లల కోసం వినియోగిస్తారని ఆశిస్తున్నాను. థ్యాంక్ యూ. నేను ఈ లెసన్ రీడింగ్ అనేది సెకండ్ లెసన్ నుండి స్టార్ట్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. ఎందుకు అంటే నేను ఆల్రెడీ లైవ్లో పిల్లల కోసం క్లాస్ చెప్తూ ఉన్నాను. అది సెకండ్ లెసన్ కాబట్టి అది వింటూ చదవడం రాని వాళ్ళు ఎవరైనా ఇంట్రెస్ట్గా ఉంటే ఈ లెసన్ని కూడా ఎలా చదవాలో ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తారు అనే ఉద్దేశంతో ఫస్ట్ నేను సెకండ్ లెసన్ని స్టార్ట్ చేయడం జరిగింది. ఇప్పుడు మనము సెకండ్ చాప్టర్ అయిన బయాలజీలోని సెకండ్ చాప్టర్ అయిన రెస్పిరేషన్ ద ఎనర్జీ రిలీజింగ్ సిస్టమ్ అనే లెసన్ని ఎలా చదవాలో నేను చదివి వినిపిస్తాను. పిల్లలు రాని వాళ్ళు ఏమాత్రం ఫీల్ అవ్వకుండా అన్నీ కాదు, కొన్ని పదాలు కొంతమందికి రావు కదా, సో వాటినైనా నేర్చుకోవడానికి ప్రయత్నించండి. మీకు టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ రీడింగ్ అనేది చాలా అవసరము. సో మీరు లెసన్ని పర్ఫెక్ట్గా చదవడం అనేది ఒక ఇంగ్లీష్ మీడియం విద్యార్థిగా మీకు చాలా అవసరం అని నేను అనుకుంటున్నాను. సో స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాం. అలానే ఇక్కడ ఇంపార్టెంట్ పాయింట్స్ రెడ్ కలర్తో అండర్లైన్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. సో వాటిని కూడా గుర్తించండి. వాటి వరకు ఇంకా బాగా నేర్చుకోవడానికి ప్రయత్నించండి. ఓకే, సెకండ్ లెసన్ ఈజ్ రెస్పిరేషన్ ద ఎనర్జీ రిలీజింగ్ సిస్టమ్. Using food to carry out life process is key to life for all living beings in both multicellular or unicellular. In the chapter on nutrition, we have discussed how the body draws out nutrients from the food taken. The food provides energy for all bodily activities only after breakdown through the process known as respiration. Thus, respiration leads to final utilization of food. When oxygen is plentiful, respiration normally takes over. Cells of the living body use food constantly to help our body to function properly. They require the presence of gas, food material, and some chemicals. The term respiration, derived from Latin word respire, meaning to breathe, refers to the whole chain of process from the inhalation of air to the use of oxygen in the cells. To begin with, we shall study the relation of gases and the process of respiration. Discovery of gases and respiration. The term respiration came into use a century after the word breathing was used. Way back in the 14th century, it was used much before people knew that air is a mixture of gases. They hardly knew anything about all the life process that took place internally in a living body. Respiration, which was used as a medical term, usually referred to as a process involving passage of air and production of body heat. It was not until 18th century when Lavoisier and Priestley did a comprehensive work on properties of gases, their exchange and respiration that we came to know something about how the process of gaseous exchange goes on in our body. You have already studied about some of Priestley's experiments in earlier classes. You have an account of it in the chapter on nutrition as well. Recall the concepts and answer the following. Can it be said that Priestley's experiment helped us to find out more about composition of air? How? Lavoisier also carried out several experiments to understand the property of gases. In his early experiments, it is clear that Lavoisier thought that the gas liberated on heating powdered charcoal in a bell jar kept over water in a trough was like fixed air. In those days, carbon dioxide was known as fixed air. The next series of experiments dealt with the combustion of phosphorus in a bell jar. From these studies, Lavoisier showed that whatever in the atmospheric air which combined with the phosphorus was not water vapor. His final words are that the substance which combines with the phosphorus is either air itself or another elastic fluid present in a certain proportion in the air which we breathe. This was the respirable air, a component of air that also helped in burning. What was produced by combustion according to Lavoisier? What did Lavoisier find out about air from his experiments? What conclusion can be drawn from Lavoisier's experiment? Lavoisier noted that there was a profound difference between the air in which combustion of a metal had been carried out and the one which had served for respiration. The air that we breathe out precipitated lime water, while that after heating metal did not. From this, he deduced that there were two processes involved in respiration and that of these he probably knew only one. Therefore, he carried out another experiment by which he showed that about 1/6 of the volume of vitiated air, that means a term used then to show air from which the component needed for burning had been removed, consists of chalky acid gas, that is fixed air. Therefore, to recreate common air from vitiated air, it was not enough merely to add the appropriate amount of air needed for burning or respirable air. The existing chalky acid gas must also be removed. He drew immediately the logical conclusion regarding the process of respiration. Either eminently respirable air is changed in the lungs to chalky acid air, or an exchange takes place, the eminently respirable air being absorbed and an almost equal volume of chalky acid air being given up to the air from the lungs. He had to admit that there were strong grounds for believing that eminently respirable air did combine with the blood to produce the red color. But in due course, the scientist identified that due to hemoglobin, the blood is red in color. Lavoisier's findings lead way to several other researchers. Which gas do you think is Lavoisier talking about when he says chalky acid gas? Which gas according to him is respirable air? What steps in the process of respiration does Lavoisier mention as an inference of his experiments? A few lines from a textbook of human physiology written by a renowned chemist, John Doppler, around mid-19th century goes like this. The chief materials which a living being receives are matter that can be burnt, water and oxygen gas, and out of the action of these upon one another, all the physical phenomena of its life arise. What the body expels out is water, oxide of carbon, phosphorus, sulfur, and others. Thus, we can see that the role of major compounds and elements in the process of respiration was known by mid-19th century. The events involved were not very clearly understood, but people believed that there was some relationship of the heat produced in the body and the process of respiration. It is a common observation that our breath is warmer than the air around us. Does respiration have anything to do with this? Let us study the events involved in respiration in human beings to figure it out. Events or steps in respiration. There are no strict demarcations of events involved in the process of respiration. It is a very complex process of several biochemical and physical processes. But for a general understanding on what goes on, we shall study under the following heads. Breathing, that is air movement into and out of lungs. Next step is gaseous exchange at lungs level. Exchange of gases between alveoli and blood. Next step is gas transport by blood. Transport of oxygen from blood capillaries of alveoli to body cells and return of carbon dioxide. Next step is gases exchange at tissue level. Exchanging of oxygen from blood into the cells and carbon dioxide from cells into the blood. Next step is cellular respiration. Using oxygen in cell process to produce carbon dioxide and water, releasing energy to be used for life process. Breathing. In the previous classes, we did experiments to find out what was there in the air we breathe out. We had seen that in a setup with lime water, it turned milky white fast as we breathe out into it as compared to a similar setup in which normal air was passed with the help of a syringe or pichkari in lime water. Experimental setup to test the presence of carbon dioxide in exhaled air. Arrange apparatus as shown in figure 3 and try to do the experiment once again to find out what happens. What does this experiment indicate? Which gas turns lime water milky? Which gas do you think might be present in greater quantities in the air we breathe out as compared to air around us? We are also aware of the fact that water vapor deposits on a mirror if we breathe out on it. Where does this water vapor come from in exhaled air? We shall have to study the pathway of air in our body through our respiratory system and the mechanism of breathing in respiration to find out how the exhaled air comes out. By respiratory system, we usually mean the passages that transport air to the lungs and to the microscopic air sacs in them called alveoli, where gases are exchanged between them and blood vessels and vice versa. Pathway of air. Let us observe the pathway of air from nostril to alveolus. Nostrils. Air usually enters the body through the nostrils. Nasal cavity. Air is filtered. The moist surface of the lining of the nasal cavity and the hairs growing from its sides remove some of the tiny particles of dirt in the air. In addition, as the inhaled air passes through the nasal cavity, its temperature is brought close to that of the body and it takes up water vapor so that it becomes more moist than before. Pharynx. Warming and moistening goes on in this common passage of digestive and respiratory system. Epiglottis, a flap-like muscular valve, controls movement of food and air towards their respective passages. Larynx. This stiff box contains our vocal cords. When air passes out of the lungs and over the vocal cords, it causes them to vibrate. This produces sounds on the basis of our speech, song, etc. Trachea. Windpipe channeling air to lungs. Touch your throat to feel the tube-like structure. Bronchus. At its lower end, the trachea or the windpipe divides into two bronchi, one leading to each lung. Bronchioles. Each bronchi is further divided into smaller and smaller branches called bronchioles. Alveolus. These finally terminate in cluster of air sacs called alveoli in the lungs, which are very small and numerous. Gases exchange takes place here as blood capillaries take up oxygen and expel carbon dioxide. Blood. Blood carries oxygen to each and every cell of the body and collects CO2 from them. The whole passage from nostrils to alveolus is moist and warm. Do you know? The interior of lung is divided into millions of small chambers, thus tremendously increasing the moist surface available for transfer of gases between air and blood. The linings of the lungs are much folded and so their total surface is enormous. If all alveoli of our lungs are spread out, they will cover an area of nearly 160 meters square, which is equivalent to tennis court. Think and discuss. What will happen if the respiratory tract is not moist? Are both lungs similar in size? Why are alveoli so small and uncountable in number? Epiglottis and passage of air. From the nasal cavity, the air goes into the pharynx. There is a tricky problem here. From the pharynx, there are two passages beginning with nearly same opening and ending into separate ones, one to the lungs and one to the stomach. It is important that air goes into one and food into the other. It is also important that food does not enter the tube through which air goes into the lungs. The traffic is kept properly channeled by a flap-like valve, the epiglottis, that protects the tube to the lungs, arresting entry of food. Observe the following figures and discuss in your class how epiglottis works while breathing or swallowing. This valve is partly closed when we swallow food. It deflects food down to the stomach and keeps it out of the trachea or windpipe, which is the route to the lungs. The epiglottis opens more widely when we take a breath and air enters the lungs. Nervous regulation is important in guiding the function of epiglottis and passage of food and air. Let us try to do an activity to feel what happens when we swallow food. Why are we advised not to talk while eating food? Activity 1. Keep your palm around an inch away from your nose. Feel you are breathing out. Do not remove it until you have finished the activity. Breathe steadily for 1 to 2 minutes. Now take a piece of any fruit, chew, and before swallowing it, keep the fingers of the other palm on your throat. Now swallow it. What did you notice? What happens to your breath as you try to swallow? What is helping you to swallow without deflecting it to the windpipe? Mechanism of respiration in human beings. We know that breathing is a process of inhaling and exhaling. The organs involved are mainly the lungs. You can't see your lungs, but it is easy to feel them in action. Put your hands on your chest and breathe in very deeply. You will feel your chest getting slightly bigger. Now breathe out the air and feel your chest return to its regular size. You have just felt the power of your lungs. The lungs themselves can neither draw in air nor push it out. Instead, the chest wall muscles and another flexible flattened muscle called diaphragm helps the lungs in moving air into and out of them. See how the diaphragm works in the figure. What is the role of diaphragm and ribs in respiration? Are both active in men and women? The chest wall is made up of ribs, muscles, and the skin. The ribs are attached at an angle to the spine. If you run your finger along one of your ribs, you will notice that it extends downward from the spine. When we inhale, the chest wall moves up and expands. This causes an increase in the volume of the chest cavity. The diaphragm may be imagined as the floor if you think of the chest cavity as a room. When the diaphragm is relaxed, when we breathe out, it is in the shape of a dome with the convex side of the dome extending into the chest cavity. When the diaphragm contracts during inhalation, it flattens out a bit or the dome moves downward. As a result, the volume of the chest cavity is increased. When the diaphragm flattens and the volume of the chest cavity is increased, its internal pressure decreases and the air from the outside rushes into the lungs. This is inspiration or inhalation. Then the reverse occurs. The chest wall is lowered and moves inward, and the diaphragm relaxes and assumes its dome shape. These changes increase the pressure on the lungs. Their elastic tissue contracts and squeezes the air out through the nose to the external atmosphere. This is expiration or exhalation. Do you know? Our lungs are spongy in nature. They are not of the same size. The lung towards left is slightly smaller, making space for your heart. Lungs are protected by two membranes called pleura. A fluid filled between these membranes protects the lungs from injury and also aid in the expansion of the spongy and elastic lung muscle as they slide one over the other.
Do you want to know?